I've been on and off Minecraft. I took a bit of a break with streaming since last week because my schedule's been crazy, and honestly, I'm starting to feel a bit of a headache right now, which is not fun. But guess what? I've been working on this little area a little more, and I'm really loving it. Check it out. The museum is almost done, y'all. Look at this. Such a beauty. I just need to keep adding small little details, such as like the framework over here, like on this side and stuff. Finally, putting the names of each of the paintings on the signs, and then like putting more of these here. Also, making sure we honeycomb all of these. But yeah, everything's literally coming together. I gotta figure out which terracotta blocks I want in these little frames here. But I'm really loving how everything's sort of coming together finally. Oh no, look at that. You see, that's the thing too. Like, I gotta be careful of how much I strip these things, because this is the one we want. So now we gotta wait till that one oxidizes once again. You know, the whole oxidation thing and waxing things, it's hard to keep track what I already waxed. It's really, so I'm like trying my best to wax when I can, and then like leaving it so it oxidizes, and then I could really know, okay, this is not wax like for these. But I think today what we're gonna do is we're just gonna come in here and do small details and try to finish it up. Yeah, we got ancient scriptures, a world to build on this side, and I really don't like the fire one, but I don't have much of the the little, what's it called? What are these things called? Pottery sherds, right? I don't have too much pottery sherds, but on this end, it says ancient scriptures, a world at war. And this one is more like, you know, that's why I don't like the fire over there, because fire over here makes more sense. But at the same time, it's like fire is sort of essential to survival, right? Before we do anything, I really need to, first off, put some, what are you doing here, Bat? You don't belong in a museum. Actually, you're welcome to browse around. Everyone's welcome to check out the old art. All right, let's clear some of our inventory, because what I need to do is restock on some rockets. And in fact, we need some more rockets. So real quick, I'm gonna make my way to our pinnacle tower that we have not finished because it's just such a big project, but I love the way it looks so far. But maybe soon, maybe in like a month or two, we start working on this thing again. I might have to finally use the Happy Gas for the first time to finish this build. I've never really used the Happy Gas before. Building this whole thing, I used scaffolding, and I'm really impressed on that because this is like humongous, okay? It really took a lot of time to even just get it working. I don't know what I'm gonna put in the bottom floors at all. I might just keep them empty for a while because it's just not a lot of space. Let's make some rockets real quick so that we don't have to worry about them for quite some time. Yeah, I've been really busy in my waking life. I'm really pursuing. Oh wow, you heard that? Spooky. Let's head to bed. In my waking life, I've been really busy doing a lot of collaborations with filming in particular, and making projects, and trying to make something work long term with all my passions. I'm a media creator, I'm a digital creator, I'm an artist, right? And so I'm trying to like find my way to monetize myself either by working with businesses or companies, etc. And it's starting to pan out. I'm trying to build my profile by making meaningful content, documenting community, and helping other creators complete projects or secure deals. And it's been a very interesting road. Lots of moments of doubt, but more than ever right now, like I'm starting to strip away that doubt and really just trust in the process and really go for it and lend my services to people. And it's working out. I'm having a lot of fun. I've never really had a life like this, and it's very interesting. My elytra is halfway out. But more than ever, I've been really, really thinking about my growth overall. I don't want to make this specifically about me, but I'm just updating you guys on where I'm at. I've grown a lot, and it's really honestly hard to catch up with my growth. I'm honestly very surprised. I'm proud of my progress, but it's scary because I don't know where everything's gonna take me. But again, I'm trying to trust in the process as much as I can, and it looks like I'm gonna need to collect some more mangrove. Let's do that real quick. But I've been reflecting more than anything, and really just thinking about how like where I was last year compared to now, and it's really like whoa, like like I'm starting to make the projects I always wanted to make, and it's a lot of work though. And for some reason, I keep getting hurt. Like every other week, right? I get hurt, whether it's like a physical injury or I get sick. It's starting to become a detriment to my progress. I do need to listen to my body more, so I'm gonna try my best to do that and just take it easy when I need to take it easy. For instance, this week, my left foot, it's really hurting a lot. Last week, I really pushed myself by skating. I was really proud of what I was doing. Like, I was doing tricks that I never really thought I could do consistently, and I was doing them. But I skated for 3 hours straight, and I didn't drink enough water, and it hurt my body in the long term because even the next day I was like, yeah, I need to drink water, but I'll skip it. And then the next day after that, my foot just kept on cramping and getting into Charlie horse positions. Someone told me yesterday that they never heard the term Charlie horse, and I'm like, what? It's like so common. What do you mean? If you don't know what a Charlie horse is, it's another word to say, yeah, my body was cramping. So my foot was really cramping, and I wasn't really listening to it, and it just got worse over time. And I've been hydrating like no other, but even so, it's really hard to stand on my foot without it feeling like it's about to cramp, and it's just not going away. I've been putting like menthol on it. Uh, there's this like cream medicine my aunt lent me, and it's supposed to help with inflammation and stuff. So I've been putting that on, and it's starting to feel slightly better, but I need to rest a bit before my body just collapses on itself. Despite that, I've still been going out and doing film work and collaborating with people and stuff like that, and getting my foot into some projects that I wanted to do, or and just talking to more people, really just saying, hey, like I want to document more. I want to collaborate with more people, and I think people are finally starting to notice that. Recently, I did a really beautiful, beautiful community documentation with a gym. They were doing a charity where they were giving out to anyone in need, not just the homeless, but a lot of homeless people showed up. But anyone in need, they were giving free food, free toiletries, clothing, and haircuts to anyone who just showed up. And it was a nice little spring giveaway, and it was so beautiful. And I got to document it, to see the people in need come in, smile, like they couldn't believe it. They were like, "Oh, this is like a blessing. God bless you all." And I was talking to a lot of people, laughing. People were smiling, and I got to capture those moments, and it's something I'll never forget. And I want to do more of those. Just documenting the beauty in our world, making more meaningful content, telling people stories, and showing people what's going on. Additionally, I've been reflecting a lot on my Instagram stories, very raw, sort of day in the life, like where I'm at and like what I'm actively thinking on, and it's a shift, like because I've done that before, but like as a creative, in the past when I've done that, I've always experienced this moment of recoil when posting my raw thoughts or like my creative process, etc. I think that came into effect because I was for years trying to find my voice. I used to be so confident when I was younger, talking about my process and talking about my passions and stuff. But then over the years, as I went through things and things hurt me, like I lost a lot of trust and I gained a lot of insecurities. because who doesn't? I mean, that's just part of life. You're gonna live it, and you're gonna be insecure about certain things, and there's gonna be things that hurt you so much where you lose trust, and you're like, who's my friend and who's my enemy, and you're gonna be so dramatic about it, especially if you're like, early 20s, especially. I feel, you're transitioning into adulthood and stuff. But as I'm growing into more of an adult right now, because right now I'm 27 years old, gonna turn 28 this year. Oh my gosh, don't remind me. I'm gonna become 30 soon. I don't want it. Time is starting to fly. Oh no. Like, what the hell? This is why I play Minecraft, okay? I just want to stay young. There's gonna be moments where you need to find your voice, and for years I've been trying to find my voice, and as a creative, like I've done it in multiple ways, right? Making videos, making edits, taking photography, making like little projects that I thought was fun and stuff, experimenting with poetry as a form of healing. And the thing is, like, a lot of people do this stuff and they keep it private. The challenge that I put myself through is I made it public. And it was such a weird experience, especially with the poetry part, right? Because the poetry I made was my healing voice. It wasn't just my creative voice, it was healing. That's uncomfortable. That's very uncomfortable to post, and it's uncomfortable to share, but I did it anyways. I stuck with it through that uncomfortable feeling. It taught me a lot about my voice. Okay, is that enough mangrove? I think that's way more than enough. It's getting dark, let's head back. So yeah, with poetry, I found my healing voice through it, and it was tough, like I had to deal with the invisible judgment, with the real-time judgment, with my mind overthinking about myself and dealing with my insecurities in the first place and actually trying to heal from things. But I strategically, put it out there so that I could really get over it. So I could say, all right, I'm putting it out there so I could leave it behind in the past. And, mistakes were made. Some things I wrote about it was very, very personal, and it shouldn't have been out there, in my opinion, but I put it out there on purpose anyways, and it was just like, some of it created chaos. Some people confronted me about it. They thought, oh, is this about me, or is this about someone else? Oh, you're exposing yourself, or you're exposing other people. Jill, what are you doing? And it created a lot of drama, okay? So it's like, it taught me something very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very valuable. There is power in vulnerability, even though there is also a lot of controversy behind it, especially if you're trying to find your voice, right? There's a couple layers to this, right? Because when you're trying to find your voice, there's two ways you can approach it. Or rather, hold on, let's roll back. When I was finding my voice, I approached it in a way where it was just raw. It was authentic. It was just me. Even if it came from the heart, or if even like some of my poetry was more fictional, and some people took it more literal, And I don't want to make this just about poetry and stuff, but it's a form of expression, right? Whatever form of expression you end up like choosing, if you're a creator just like me, you gotta know one thing and one thing only. And one thing that I learned about that experience as a whole is there are boundaries that you must face. There are boundaries that will be in place, especially if you're trying to find your voice. And with poetry, there's a fine line, and that's what I learned. And I was like, okay, so like I gotta be careful what I say first off, because it could definitely, oh no, it could definitely affect people in ways that I didn't imagine. Like my intention was I was healing, and I have a right. Oh, that was perfect, first try. I have a right to heal and say what I feel, like as an artist. But then at the same time, I gotta be careful what I say, because again, there's boundaries, like, and that was something I learned, and I had to have those uncomfortable conversations. But we met in a middle ground, and we were like, okay, sorry about that. But you gotta be careful what you say, like. Even though if you really want to, grow as a creative and spread your voice, you have the total right to, but, like boundaries, filters, people, like can't just say whatever you want. Granted, freedom of speech at the same time. And that's why that's it's controversial. Okay, there are limits, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, but at the same time, when you're trying to find your voice, if you do it intentionally in a way where you're like, okay, I'm gonna put myself in an uncomfortable situation to see what happens. No matter what, you're gonna feel uncomfortable with whatever you post or whatever you decide to share out there as an artist, right? Let's say it's painting or whatever, and you make a painting that was made when you were really going through something deep, and then it's beautiful and people love it. They're like, oh man, this makes me feel a certain way and stuff. But as an artist, it makes you feel a certain way. And even though it's beautiful and you see it as a milestone, looking back at that painting, it might make you just go back to a place you don't want to. So as an artist, you're like, oh man, I don't even want to share this, right? So maybe you choose not to because how it makes you feel. But I'd argue if you do decide to share it and it impacts people in a different way, right? Maybe you make this painting and this painting has to do with like a trauma that you dealt with. And you put it out there and the initial response from others is like, this is beautiful, right? There's empowerment in that. And it affected other people in a way you've never imagined, but you keep on going back to it, right? And every time you go back to it, you feel uncomfortable. So it's a matter of understanding how you feel, and like, of course, as an artist, as a person, you have the right to decide whatever you want. But I'd argue if you do push the limit and say, you know what, even though it makes me feel uncomfortable, maybe this piece that I made actually can benefit someone else, inspire someone else, or have someone else take the experience behind it and the message behind it and learn from it. And I feel like there's value in that. There's so much power in that. And that's what I learned from my poetry, because even though it got bad reception from one half, it got good reception from the other. The people who are my people saw it and they understood that it was a healing voice. And I got good reception on that end. But on another end, right, I got bad reception, and it was the people who didn't understand it. And there's always going to be people who don't understand the core message of what you're going for. When you're trying to find your voice, there's always going to be some sort of friction, and it's part of the process, okay? I'd argue continue trying to find it, but understand there are boundaries, and understand there are limits, and learn from them. Change your approach if you need to, but never stop. Keep on going. Because when you finally do find your voice, you start embodying yourself in a way you've never imagined. And I think I'm in personally a point in my life where I'm really starting to embody a person I've never imagined I'd become, but I always dreamed of. And it's a storyteller. It's a collaborator. It's a creative that finally feels comfortable in his own skin. And I've never would have ever reached this point if I didn't share my process over time. Like if I kept it all a secret from the very beginning, I would have still been very insecure posting any sort of like trial projects or mock projects or what's the word I'm trying to say? Any project that's sort of an experiment, I wouldn't do it. For so long, I've been like intentionally saying, yeah, we're gonna put this up and see how it performs. Let's say, because there's two ways you could do it, right? If you decide to post online or share your art in general, right? You can look at it in the eye of, okay, let's see how this gets perceived and how well it performs. Let's say you're trying to build a profile for revenue or something, right? Like, let's say you're trying to monetize your content. There's a benefit in saying, yeah, let's see how well this performs, and I'm going to try new formats and stuff like that. But then there's another side of it. And there's the bravery side. Let's say I decide to post something and I post it intentionally. And I do it in the mindset of, okay, I'm scared to show my voice right now. I'm scared to show my project. But you know what? I'm going to put it up anyway as a little stamp, as a little milestone for myself to say, yeah, this is where I'm at in this point of my life, and I'm putting it out there in order to test my bravery. You'll start to feel this recoil. Let's say I decide to post a vlog, right? Just a vlog of me going to Comic-Con or something. And I put it out there, and it's like a 10-minute long video, lots of cringe moments, not really put together in a practical way, but it documented, my experience. Oh man, we're gonna need more of this pale oak wood. We're gonna need way more of it. So I put it out there. It's a nice little project, but now I'm posting it not necessarily for the numbers. I don't look at the numbers. Who cares about the numbers? But I'm posting it because I've been afraid to post because I'm afraid of how people may perceive me, how cringe I may look, right? But I put it up anyway and I leave it up anyway. What does that do? It allows you to collect data, and it allows you to look back at who you are as a creator. As you continue to put things out there more, you can look back and actually have an archive of your entire progression. And I feel like there's something so valuable about that when you're able to look back at everything you've done, everything you've created, and say, wow, I started here and look how much more I've actually created. Like, look at the growth I've managed to make for myself. And it's only going to inspire you to keep going. Let's bring it to Minecraft real quick. I've been watching a lot of YouTube content creators talk about forever worlds in Minecraft and like tips on how to keep a forever world going, because I intend for this world to be a forever world, right? Because I'm tired of always resetting over the years. And I'm really loving the progress of this world. And one thing they constantly give a tip on is, document your progress. Document it, because when you compare your current creations to your first creation, it gives you a burst of motivation like no other. It makes you want to just continue, and it makes you reminisce. And I'd argue with every single type of creative, whether it be painting, singing, dancing, video creation, content creation, editing, whatever it be, Minecraft. That's important. We're humans, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have perspective shifts. Things are going to gradually change as we grow and progress. And documentation for me is very, very, very important in any sort of way, because this is our life. You know what I mean? We only have one life. If you're not documenting it in any shape or form, it could literally just be some pictures every now and then. There's nothing you can reference back to. And then, what's the point, I don't know. Hot take? Maybe not. I will say, though, I'm beginning to really understand my voice and understand who I want to become and take myself a little more serious. And it took a very long time, okay? Like, I'd argue ever since 2023, I've been having trouble with a lot of insecurities, and they're finally dissipating. It takes a while, but in order for you to really grow as a creative, no matter what, you have to just keep showing up little by little and understand that progress is not instantaneous. It takes a very long time. Progress doesn't look like things are going to be moving tomorrow. It looks like constantly showing up without burning yourself out. That's another very important piece. You got to give your body time to rest, recuperate, and step away from whatever you're doing, right? For instance, let's relate this into Minecraft, right? Because this is the content I'm streaming. If you go intensely on a world, like every day, let's say, and you put like 3 hours a day into a world, you're gonna burn yourself out if you don't give yourself some rest. And that goes for anything else in life. You need to step away intentionally at times without guilt. So that way you could come back with a clear mindset and say, okay, this is where I was, Now it's time to try something new, or do something in a different approach that I've never tried before. That's really important, because if you don't, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to come back to your world, let's say, and you're going to want to restart, or you're going to want to not play Minecraft anymore. You're going to be like, yeah, I'm done with this. It's a boring game. And this game is not for everybody. Just like being a creative, it's not for everybody. But I'd argue the benefits of feeling uncomfortable and like really pushing yourself, it allows you to see life a little different. And I'd argue it allows your motivation to spike in a different way you've never ever imagined when you start to push yourself through that uncomfortable feeling. Even if you really don't like it, you never know what you may find. So, in other words, if you ever wanted to do something, a project, a YouTube channel, go for it. Why not? Come on. What's stopping you other than your own insecurity? That's literally the only thing stopping you, your own insecurities. And once you realize that, you can take control over your life and your decisions. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time to finally like gain control over that. But if you persevere and you continue to show up, you'll discover parts of you you've never even realized that was there in the first place, So yeah, I think that's all I really have to say when it comes to my creative process and where I'm at creatively. Hopefully it benefited somebody watching this maybe later. I'm excited though. I'm really excited for my growth. I'm scared too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really scared. Like, I don't know if my job's gonna last. I don't know if this whole creative journey of mine is gonna last, but hell, I'm trying. And I feel it. I feel like it's taking me somewhere, so I'm gonna just keep doing what I do best and keep showing up, because with anything, it's all about discipline, you know, but not necessarily forced discipline. I mean, there's gonna be, I still struggle with it. Sometimes I do force myself to stay disciplined on something, even though my body is screaming to rest. And that's why I feel like it's important to rest, right? Discipline is not just about showing up. It's about a balance of how you show up. It's showing up just enough where it's like, okay, like I can manage this, I can hold this, and I could continue to show up without losing that motivation, because motivation part is really important, And I'm still learning, I'm not perfect, and I'm gonna continue to make mistakes. It's inevitable, and I've come to accept that. There's nothing more I can do but accept the truth behind my life, and it's that nothing's ever going to be picture perfect. It's not. There's going to be struggle. There's going to be weird moments. There's going to be insecurity, and you can't do anything about it. So why, try to control it? Surrender, you know. Surrender to that feeling. Understand it. Cope with it. Move forward instead. When you try to control your life to a T, it's like there's always a moment of friction, whether it be from other people or your motivation or your life in general. And it's like, why waste your time and energy trying to control everything when you could just, go with the flow, right? I mean, there is strategy in planning things, I would say. I would argue there is big strategy in that. And I'm not saying to like not ever have a plan, because it's good to be in control somewhat. But when you believe and you approach your life where you have to have full control at every single moment, you're going to lead yourself to some disappointment and demotivation. So just be realistic about it, Nobody has the definite answers to everything in life. No one. No matter how well put together some people may be, or may perceive themselves to be. No one's gonna have the full answers. We're all just figuring it out, and the world's ever changing and stuff. I think there's value in trying to remain in the present moment and solve problems in your life in real time rather than always trying to predict the future. But I mean, it's hard. I mean, like it's hard because everyone wants control over their lives. And some people's job is to manage and maintain control over systems. So I mean, there is a benefit to doing that and approaching life in that way. It's just I don't think it's always appropriate with every single situation life throws at you. Sometimes it's more beneficial to really surrender to outcomes and learn from them and accept them internally instead of moping and groping and complaining about everything and having that weird mindset of, oh man, like this just blew my mood and and it leads to conflict within oneself. I mean, you wake up one day and now you're just sucking your teeth at every little inconvenience because you wish you had more control, and you become more miserable instead of really living in the present moment and looking around you and enjoying life for what it is. When we begin to spiral in life, it's easy to continue that be through instant scrolling and endless scrolling online and trying to fill this void through easy ways to fill our endorphins up, right? And it's we try to distract ourselves from actual growth, actual confrontation, and I'd argue the real path, or the more beneficial path in terms of confronting wounds or confronting things that have disappointed us, will be facing it through stillness, silence, and being present, right? Like, one thing that aligns me the most in life is every now and then I stop. I take an intentional trip to my local botanical garden. And the one thing that those trips has done for me is not only inspire me to make like miniature projects every time and like explore my creativity in different formats through either making a short video or taking photos and making an edit and documenting it, right? That's what brings me joy, right? And I think that's important, always like trying to at least give yourself some time to explore with who your inner child is, right? I think that's really important. But additionally, those little trips, it reminded me that when I step away from the digital world, um, and I approach my life in stillness, silence, and like nature, I'm able to actually confront the things that are uncomfortable in my life within my mind. I am able to step away from all the chaos and all the spiraling I had and actually confront it. And honestly, it's uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie, it is real uncomfortable. But when you actually confront it and you don't numb yourself out by drinking or smoking or going out to parties and really trying to distract yourself, and you actually face those problems through stillness, silence, whether it be meditation or whatever, there's a moment of clarity you have in your mind that it just empowers you. And maybe I'm not describing it in a way that sounds enticing, but I promise you that there is power within that, power that I've discovered that I'm still trying to grasp, because I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I found the answer to like anything, right? I feel like we're all trying to figure out life, right? Nobody knows all the answers. But I will say there is a benefit in really trying to reset your mind through, taking a break intentionally and, trying to reconnect to who you were in the past, your inner child, your past dreams, etc. And no! Dude, that keeps happening. All right, let's see. Could we get it on the first try? No, we can't. Okay, hold on. We need this here, and then nope. We might be here for a moment. No. Oh, that was it. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. We're good. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Oh my gosh, it just keeps happening, huh? I think that's all I have to say. I think maybe I'll say more in a moment. I said a lot, and yeah, I've just been learning a lot in my life right now, and I've been really growing, and I hope that everything I said right now brought some value to you, because it's just wisdom I'm trying to share. You know, like I've been really showing up to my life in a way that I've never had before. Like I'm actually pursuing things I've always wanted to do, like learning how to dance salsa, being part of the community, meditating for the first time, and seeing the benefits with that, and showing up. You know, I'm really starting to show up, and it's a experience I've never had before that I feel like has been really shifting my mindset, really is enabling me to really find my voice again and be more confident within my skin. And I'm really proud of my progress. But again, it took a very long time to get to where I'm at right now. And I'm still figuring it out. Again, like, we don't have the answers. We're all just trying to figure it out. So that's where I'm at. Back to Minecraft though. This museum is looking phenomenal. There's just so many small details to keep adding on. Like, I have to make sure everything here is waxed. And I'm not 100% sure what is waxed or not at this point because I've just been waxing things as they oxidize. But we're trying to have like a nice, moody, look to it. But I'm really loving how this is looking. All the frames, the copper, the lights. I love these lights. I'm glad there's a light source that doesn't need a constant redstone output anymore. Beautiful museum. I'm really liking how this is going, but this was my hour and a half sort of playthrough on Minecraft today. And hopefully I show up more. I'm sorry I don't have a consistent schedule. I've just been very busy in my waking life, and yeah, but I am really determined to continue building in this world. I really like the way it's coming together. So, hope you enjoyed. Take care, y'all.